What's up, world? This is the How To I Do channel. Listen, again, we've got another one for you. This is part 3 of making plans. Yeah, it was that important that we had to make 3 different videos to explain the importance of making a plan in your marriage. But before we get started, let's make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you comment throughout the video. We want to hear from you. And also take a visit to our website at HowToIDo.org, where you can book us for your event, schedule a consultation with us. You can even get this, which is our book, our prized possession, which is called I Do, but How Do I? A guide to strengthening the durability of your marital union. But you can go right there, and on our page it says get the book, and you can just click right there. Boom, it's on its way to your home. Are y'all ready? Let's go. And we are back, and again, the title of this lesson is part 3 of making plans for your marriage. Now listen, I don't want you guys to have to get smacked around, flipped upside down, thrown to the ground before you decide that making a plan for your marriage is that important. Having a plan for your marriage is so vitally important, because one way or another, you are deciding the fate of your marriage. You can decide to face unnecessary challenges within your marriage, or you can plan to chart out a course that will lead you around unnecessary challenges that are going to happen or could potentially happen within your marriage. As a matter of fact, you can go through parts 1 and parts 2 to kind of catch up to where we are as it relates to making a plan for your marriage. I know in video 1, my wife so eloquently pointed out the fact that when you set goals in your marriage, then you have something to point back to and gauge from. We did this together, we did that stride, we made this accomplishment, and it makes you feel good when you've seen where you were and where you wanted to go and where you are now on that course. Did you meet the goal? And then in lesson 2, I discussed how having a plan shows you how to utilize your resources. You waste time when you don't utilize your resources correctly. If you're just binge watching TV, if you're just binge watching or hanging out with friends all of the time, but you're not doing anything that would cater to the success of your marriage, then ultimately you have to pay the consequences for that. I also discussed that when you run through marriage because you didn't have a plan, then eventually you're going to get tired and you're going to want to make some cuts. And those cuts usually end in divorce, unfortunately. But divorce can be halted if we just have a plan in place, and then we can measure things against the plan. Here's something that I want you to remember, and that point is stay the course. Stay the course even when things have become challenging, because just because you have a plan in place doesn't mean that everything is going to be smooth sailing. That's a false narrative. Challenges are gonna come. That's life. Whether it's in your personal life, your business life, and yes, even in your marital life. And I think a lot of us have this mental picture that marriage is supposed to be this light and fluffy, happy, everybody's just skipping through the meadows type of experience, when it's an extension of life, which means that there will be ups and downs. And we have to be prepared for both. So simply what a plan will do is help you to stay focused on the things that are important in front of you. The challenges will come, but if you and your spouse have prayed about it, you guys are in agreement about where you're going, then I'm going to take you all the way back to the first video in this series. And one of the things that we said in that video was that you should write the vision. That way, when challenges come, you guys have something to point back to and say, this is what we wrote, this is what we believe. You need something that'll help keep you on course and remind you of where you're going. There's a scripture, and it's Proverbs 16:9, and it says, and I'm paraphrasing, that a man plans in his heart his ways. That's the plan. It's the first step, right? But God orders his steps. So if there is no plan, then there are no steps for God to order. That's why a plan is so vital to your marriage. When you put the plan in place, then God says, all right, I see where they're trying to go. Let me help make sure that I order their steps so that they get there. Right? I'm reminded of when my wife and I were looking to buy the house that we're in. It was challenging. Are you kidding me? It was, oh man, it blew up. I get a headache just thinking about it. But we had a plan in place. We put the plan in place to get the credit together, to make sure that we had some money set aside. We were out looking every weekend for a specific type of home. We needed this amount of bedrooms. We needed this amount of bathrooms. That was the plan. And when I tell you that, man, we ran into all types of hurdles. We physically saw at least 100 homes over the course of time, and it took forever. But we had a plan. So when things came at us and we didn't know how to approach everything, we kept pointing back to the plan. We kept pointing back to the plan. We said we wanted a house. We're doing everything we can do to get a house. We're in agreement together. We've written it down. We've prayed about it. We've submitted it before God. So we had done everything that we could do. And now we're getting into something here. All right, you follow me? Once we had done everything that we could do, the steps and the ordering of the steps were the part that God was supposed to do. Because we put a plan in place. So God knew, all right, they want this type of house, so let me make sure that they get there. Let me walk them to that house. And when we were so exhausted and so tired of looking at homes, and we're starting to wane and feel like we were not gonna get the house because there were several houses that we liked, but they didn't meet our specifications. And at the very end, we walked into a house that will ultimately become our new home. But it was because we started with a plan. And that leads me to my next point, which is embrace the moment. Yes, embrace the moment. Because a plan charts out where you intend to go, right? So take for instance, flying a plane. If you fly a plane, you can fly a plane from here to Chicago, from here to Australia. But the one thing that you can't do in a plane is dictate the weather. If the pilot runs into bad weather and he's headed to Chicago or Indianapolis or Australia or Japan or wherever, he can't just divert from the course and think that he's going to get there in the time frame that was set. He has to stay the course. And so yes, the rain will beat up on that plane. The lightning will flash in front of the plane and might even distort his vision a little bit because he can't see as well as he could when it was sunny outside. But he has to stay on course. So that's what I'm extending to you, is that you should embrace the moment, whatever it may lead you. Don't be thrown off course when you see your friends having their successes and their wins and everything seems to be working out for them and you seem to be getting beat up on. The plan is in place to remind you of where you're going. If you're going to have a successful marriage, then you can't be so focused on your friends jetting off to Paris and going and getting rings and diamonds and flying off to LA to the Lakers basketball game or whatever that they're doing as a couple, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Embrace your moment, walk in your course because of where you're going and where you intend to be. So when challenges happen in your marriage, the importance of that story is to remind you that if you have a plan in place, then you will ultimately get where you're trying to go. You know, there's a scripture that says, "Be not weary in well doing, for you will reap if you faint not." But I've always kind of battled with the idea of why would we get tired in our doing good? Like, why would God tell us to not get tired of doing good? And I've come to the conclusion, through life experiences, that the reason that is put in there is because when you're doing good, when you're doing the right thing, when you have a plan in place, it's not always going to feel good. It's not always going to look good. But if you stay on course, it will always work for your good. So think of it like this. When you're doing good and you're making plans to meet that goal for your marriage or whatever it is that you and your spouse are attempting to accomplish together, essentially you are planting seeds. And if you've ever known anything about plants or vegetables or anything of that nature, you know that when you plant a seed, the action of watering it will help it to grow. And so you get to reap the harvest of what you've put in place. It's the same thing with your marriage. When you make a plan and you follow that plan as a couple, you submitted that plan to God. You've written it down so that you guys have something to point to. You're planting seeds when you write it down and you come up with the plan. You're watering it when you put those plans into action. And God ultimately will give the increase. And the reason I can say that is because we have the house. We have our house. God was gracious enough to give us a nice home, a nice place to call home. But I wonder, had we not put a plan in place to get here, would we still be where we were? And that's my question to you. Are you gonna get where you're destined to be? Or are you going to stay where you were? The choice is best way, in my opinion, is that when you put a plan in place, not just for the wedding, not just to get a job, but a plan in place for the success of your marriage. When the plan is in place and then you start acting out those steps, then God will order those steps to get you where you're saying that you want to go. What is your vision? Where are you going? What is the plan of success for your marriage? Or are you like we discussed in video 2, or are you just gonna cut your losses and whatnot in divorce court? The choice is yours. And again, that's all I got. As always, thank you for tuning in. We're always so happy to have you with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Go to our website at HowToIDo.org, and you can book us for a consult. You can book us for your event. You can even get this amazing little doohickey right here. I do, but how do I? Written with you in mind to help sustain and give your marriage success. Well, again, that's all I have for you. Until next time.